This is the Little Rocks Team Podcast presented by Staley Electric. I'm Patrick Newton, and today we are talking with Kemy Osse, the man who made one of the biggest shots in program history and came up with one of the biggest defensive stops in program history, both in Little Rock's win over Purdue. Now, Kemy's a Montreal native who played all four of his college basketball seasons with the Trojans. He also suffered a major knee injury as a sophomore, missing all of the 2014-15 season after fracturing his patella and tearing his patella tendon. In this episode, we talk about that injury, earning the label of a green light shooter from head coach Chris Beard, coming up with one of the biggest defensive stops of that season, and of course, the three-pointer that put the exclamation point on the win over Purdue in the NCAA Tournament. We also talk a bit about Kemy's pro career, as well as his current life as a coach. Let's go. Kemy Osse, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. Nice to see you. How you been?
I'm good, man. It's been too long.
I know. We were talking before that. We had time to catch up, but it's nice to do this. I appreciate you for asking me to do this. It means a lot.
Yeah, man. No, this is going to be fun, man. It's been too long. This is a team that deserves to be celebrated. Really excited. It's been a lot of fun for me to just kind of chat with people and catch up, but also just kind of reminisce on this team and the different players and the different stories, that everybody had along the way. So yeah, man, absolutely 100% appreciate you doing it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. So with that particular season, for me, the thing that I think about with you first and foremost is kind of coming off that injury from, 2 years prior, the end of your true sophomore season. That was, I think, February 2014. You had a pretty crazy injury that year at Louisiana Lafayette that ended that season for you, took you out of commission the entire next season.
Yeah.
Just remind people kind of what happened to you and sort of what that experience was like for you and for your playing career at that point.
Man, it's crazy. Like you said, it was at ULL. I don't even remember what happened. I think it was a loose ball. It was a loose ball, actually, but I just don't know how I got hit. I just felt like somebody's knee hit mine. And then I fell, but it only felt like, a regular hit. And then tried to get up to run, and I couldn't bend my leg at all. Like, it was just straight. I was like, what the hell's going on? So, I just look and my knee is just, swollen up. Then it starts to hurt. I'm like, oh, shoot. And then, ambulance came and stuff like that on meds. And then a couple days later, I found out that I broke my kneecap and tore my patella tendon. I was out for a while.
Yeah, you missed that entire next season. And I guess kind of two questions here. One, from like just a physical pain standpoint, what was that process like for you? And then two, from just the kind of emotional, kind of whatever you want to call it, sort of mental standpoint of just being out for an entire year and not really being able to play. I don't even really remember how much you practiced that next year. I can't really remember the timeline of your rehab, but what was that year like for you where you really couldn't play basketball?
Well, it was weird. It was tough because I couldn't even travel with the team, right? So when the guys would travel, I had to stay back. The good thing is I made Dean's List that year because I could focus on the books more.
Get it done in the classroom, though.
Yeah, but it was hard, man. I mean, you do all that work in high school to get a scholarship to play basketball and be with your team, and then you get hurt, which is part of the game. But then you got to miss a whole year. You can't travel. You can only practice or even just attend practices. It's not the same thing. It was definitely hard mentally. Physically, I mean, after surgery, that was one of the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like once the meds were wearing off, I was like, shit, I never felt anything like that. I was on meds heavy. But the rehab process, I took it like a dog, man, like nonstop. I was going morning, I was doing extra stuff. I was going to Mike, to Sweat, I remember, nonstop, like nonstop to a point sometimes of like, yo, we've done a lot of things, like now you just gotta rest. Um, and I approached it like that. I had read about the injury. I was doing a bunch of stuff just to keep my mind busy. It was definitely a tough year though, but I grew a lot in that year.
And also that year that, Shields is let go at the end of that following season, the season you have to have your medical red shirt. Um, you know, g an unfortunate reality, but, like, a real reality is that for someone in your situation like that, that can be pretty scary. You got a new coach coming in, you don't necessarily know, like, what your role's gonna be, if you're gonna have a spot. Was that a big factor in your mind, or did that not really was that not a big thing for you?
A little bit, everybody, because you don't know what's gonna happen. When you don't know what's gonna happen, you definitely think about stuff. Um, I had spoken to my brother at the time, so we were gonna have a plan. I was probably gonna just transfer if the new staff didn't want me or if I didn't click with them. Um, which it was weird because when Beard got there, you're like, okay, like what's gonna happen? Like, is he bringing in the whole team or whatever? Um, he was actually great. I remember the press conference. He came. He said, "Oh, whoever rides with me, whoever we keep, we're gonna win. We're gonna win a lot of games." And this is exactly what we did. And the way he did it, he just everybody worked out. He wanted to have a feel for everybody. He definitely did his research on everybody. Um, and then, after the workout, he said, "You can really shoot the ball. You riding with us?" I liked his, I liked his mentality. I liked how he approached it. I was like, "Hey, let's do it." And then from there, it was history.
Yeah, you said it, he liked your ability to shoot the ball. And that was something that you could do from day one.
Mhm.
You shot 39% from three in Sun Belt that next season, started 25 games. Um, and that team in general, just the shooting by the end of that season was just crazy. Like I talked about this in Mo Isom, but in a little bit different, like if you guys would have come around like maybe like 5 to 7 years later, you guys would have probably had a crazy 3-point volume, as a team
Yeah.
because 42% from three as a team, that's a crazy number. I think we had the top three Sun Belt 3-point shooters in conference play that season. It was Mo, G and Josh, and
Mhm.
then you were like number 7 or something like
Yeah,
that. I can't
yeah,
remember the
yeah,
number exact, but
yeah.
yeah, we had 4 or 5 of the best 3-point shooters in the league. I mean, even Liz Shoshi, a guy who was playing the 5, by the end of that season could step out and shoot threes. Roger was actually, not a high volume 3-point shooting guy, but like he was a guy that like if left open, he could make some shots. You're laughing, but like Raj
Yeah,
could Raj could
yeah,
step out
yeah.
and shoot a little bit. But basically, yeah, your shooting kind of made you a really important part of some of Little Rock's best and most effective offensive lineups that season.
Yeah, man, and hey, that's something like you said, I came out of high school, a really good scorer. Once I got there, I got hurt, you know, I always had the ability to shoot the basketball, but I remember when the staff came, they said, "You're gonna be one of our green light shooters for sure." We did like a couple drills and stuff, and I did really well in them. And they said, "You're gonna be our green light shooter. You're open, shoot the basketball. Like we don't want to know anything. Like they just you're open, shoot it." And that was good because that was a privilege. You had to earn it. You had to work for it. And I think we had 4 guys like that. I think with 3. It was me, 4. Me, Mo, Josh, G. That were green light shooters. And Evan, I'll walk on Evan, so
Evan can stroke it,
um
man. People didn't see
man,
Evan
Evan,
shoot the ball, but he can shoot it.
man, Evan and I used to always bet to shoot. I always beat him, by the way. Y'all can ask him. But we'd always bet to shoot and stuff. But yeah, man, like we had a really good shooting team though.
And that was something that Beard's staff did a really good job of just like working with you guys on that type of skill development. Like you could already shoot the ball, but like things like the 300 club, like
Yes,
having to make
yes.
300 game shots a day, they were really intentional about kind of cultivating that skill with you guys. Like to not be a team that really relied on the 3-point shot, they put a lot of coaching effort into making sure that you guys were a good shooting team.
Yeah, man, that stuff was great. Yeah, you know what's funny? I use some of the stuff they did with my team now. You know, development was a big thing. Every morning I'd go, I was either with Ted, with Trilly, any coach, you know what I'm saying? Forgetting some names now. Down,
You had
dang,
Max Lefebvre.
Max, yeah, Max
Yeah.
Lefebvre, yeah, it's my French boy. Flanagan, you had Berg, you had a bunch of guys you can just go to and ask to get in the gym with you, and honestly, they never said no. And then it's crazy. I remember one day I was talking to Adams, and he was like, "Hey, like I was in a little slump." And he was like, just go at night and make some shots, And I think that's when it started. It was like, you're the 300 club. And we would go there and then he'd text me at night, did you shoot the day before and stuff like that. And you can see. And then they started at 300 club, which actually was really cool. It was a way to get us in the gym and basically keep that um, privilege that we had to shoot the basketball whenever we wanted, right? Especially the green light guys. So that was cool.
Yeah, yeah, and it seemed like you guys were almost, it was culture, like when I talked to Adams, he said something that I thought was pretty simple but pretty smart. He was like, what Beard was really great at was building a culture, and he was like, what a culture does is it creates behavior. And it seemed like that behavior, that sort of that additional practice and kind of behavior mentality was really instilled in you guys. And it wasn't just you. I mean, it was someone like again, like Liz Shoshi, a guy that like wasn't a green light shooter,
Hmm.
wasn't taking a lot of jump shots in games, but was still in the gym each day making shots, and that's still something that I will always be impressed by. That
Hmm.
team's ability to put in the work when nobody else was around to watch.
Yeah, and that's how you're ready for big moments too, which we had a bunch of them during that season. Even besides the win in the tournament and stuff, but we won some big games during the year away, at the crib at the Jack Stevens Center. Like it was just all from preparation, the way we practiced, the way we approached treatment, having to be taped or having ankle brace during practice. It was just all these little things. Snack bar upstairs, making sure we're eating right. I mean, that's just preparation for success. And all that stuff matters to win. And a lot of people just think it's getting in the gym. Nah, man, it's way more than that. And that staff was great for that.
Yeah, it's a process. You mentioned the big wins. One of the biggies that you had a big role in was the win at Tulsa. That was, I believe, the kind of second really big road victory of the season. We'd beaten San Diego State at San Diego State. That win at Tulsa was the game that I think after that game we started receiving votes in the top 25. We may have even been number one in the RPI at that point. You had 9 points in that game. I don't know how well you remember it. I actually was going back and looking at the kind of play by play before we chatted. You hit the shot in that game that gave Little Rock the lead for good in the second half. Did you
Yes.
even remember that?
Nah, I don't. I don't. Honestly, Pat, a lot of times during the games, when the moment was big, I used to get excited a little bit. Like I just love those moments. I don't know what. As a kid, when you working out, you're like, I want to be able to shoot in big time moments, and I feel
Mhm.
like I was always conditioned to do that. I mean, I was a little crazy. Like I didn't care at that. And those moments, I'm like, that thing's going up.
Yeah.
and then,
We'll talk more
and
about that in a bit. I've got one. We're gonna talk about the Purdue game, the shot you hit, and you told me a story that next year. I'm gonna see if you remember it. But before we get off the Tulsa win, yeah. So you scored 9 points in that game, and we're down. I can't remember what the deficit was at halftime, but we get down 15, 16 points in that first half. And that was the first time that season that I can recall that you guys really had that type of comeback. That was something that you guys became known for that year. You had several games where we came back from double digit deficits to win. What was it about that team other than just being good on both ends of the court that you felt like made them so strong when it came to those comeback efforts in game?
I say, well, we were really, really competitive. And that's how we practice. And, like I told you earlier, me, Reese, and Raj, we were close. But we'd fight in practices. Resilience, and open to coaching. We took coaching well. I think Beer to come in that locker room snapping at halftime or at timeouts. Nobody ever took that stuff personal. Some people definitely are different, but I think we had a lot of thick-skinned guys on that team. Um, that helps you be ready for those moments, and when it's time to clap back, you're ready to clap back.
Yeah, I mean, something that you just said there about kind of that, coaching players hard. Something Beard used to always say, and I'm curious if your take on it, was that good players like want to be coached, which was code for good players want to be coached hard. Good players want to have that intensity. Did you feel like did that align with your mentality as well?
1000%. That's how I grew up. My parents, me being the youngest one in my family, immigrant parents from Haiti, belts, all of that. Like that was nothing to me. That was nothing to me, man. So I was like, hey, I was ready for it.
And so the Tulsa win is a big win. You have a number of big shots that year, but another big game that you had that was a crucial one was that game against ULM in the Sun Belt Championship. And
Yes.
one of the things that, again, going back and looking kind of at the box score and the play-by-play before we spoke, I remembered that you had a good game. You scored double figures. You finished with 12. You and G were, like, really the only 2 guys that could hit a shot in the first half of that game. You remember we were down early in that game, we got
Hmm.
down, ULM was really rolling, and that was a team that you guys had issues with, that season. They really probably should have beaten you guys at the Jack Stevens Center. Remember they had the tip in that they missed late in that
Yes.
game.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Damn.
then
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they and then they beat you guys in Monroe in a game that was, probably I don't know if this is the right expression, but like the most convincing loss maybe you guys had that year. The Arkansas State loss was kind of, a little fluky in that they just shot insanely well in the first half. They got a big lead. And then the second half, you guys roared back, just couldn't quite do it. You lose at Texas Tech. I mean, Texas Tech was really good that season. We, we end that season on the road at App State and lose that game, which was just kind of a strange game where it was travel. It was right after the big wins.
Hmm.
But that game in Monroe, they scored 86 or 87 points against you guys. And they, for a team, we were one of the best defensive teams in the country that year. But that ULM win in Monroe was the one that I was like, man, like this is a team that we're having trouble guarding. And then the first half of that game in the Sun Belt Championship, they were scoring the ball well. We were having trouble. What do you remember about that? First half, and then the halftime. Famously, Beard breaks his hand at halftime of that game. You talk about kind of the intensity and stuff. Like, what are your memories from the first half of that game?
It's crazy. I don't really remember, but the one thing I do remember, we were down. And am I right? We were down, and
Down
we
six,
just
down 5 or 7, I think, at halftime.
yes, but we couldn't buy a bucket. We couldn't score at all, and I knew. And in those moments, like you said, you mentioned early, like at some point, like I'll always make big shots. That year, I was humble enough, and I'm real with myself. I wasn't the go-to guy like that was gonna have the ball in my hands to create. That was Josh's job, Raj, and then G, and then like us as role players. But during that year, I remember like just from going throughout the season, I remember I was like during key moments when guys are keying in on these guys, this is real time, KO. Like, and I remember that vividly. I remember even coming off a ball screen. That I remember over a 6'9" guy. I forgot his name. I just shot that thing, man. I was like, hey, they're guarding these guys. I'm gonna make them guard somebody else then. So,
Uh-huh.
but I do remember that was a grit win. And then at the end of the day, at the game, Raj came back, stepped up, and Josh, Raj, I think was the player of the game, for that game. And I think I hit a corner three in front of our bench, if I'm not mistaken. Or that was just a great team win and just dog mentality, um, coming back and winning that game.
Yeah, yeah, that was a huge win to get that win in New Orleans, as you said. Come from behind victory. You guys scored, I think, 42 points in the second half of that game against ULM in the Sun Belt Championship.
Hmm.
Probably the best half of basketball you guys played all season. Held them to under 20 points in the second half. Just an unreal effort. And then, after that game, like how much did it mean to you to know that you were going to the NCAA tournament? Was that, when you went to UALR, when you chose UALR out of high school or prep school, like, did you think that that was something that was going to happen?
No. The
Really?
only thing you think about is like, yo, I'm about to get a free education. That was my mentality. I don't know for everybody else. I'm about to get a free education. Growing up, my mom said, yo, I don't have money to pay for university for you. Like, you gotta go earn it, find a way to get a scholarship. My brother, the same thing. I was grateful for that and knowing that I was gonna get out there with no debt because it was a full ride. Um, I didn't know that was gonna happen, but trust me, we were ready for that moment though.
Yeah, and, what do you remember about the preparation for the Purdue game that that season, or in that tournament, I should say?
It's a great question. I do remember coming back. We were a little tired or whatever. If I'm not mistaken, it was a Sunday. We got back. We didn't really practice, but we started working right away. And I remember as soon as we got back, I remember a lot of us went to the gym that same day to get some shots up. And I vividly remember Max was in there with me personally, but I do remember other guys being in there. And we were like, yo, it's time to put in more work now. Like, this is our chance. Let's go get some wins in the tournament.
You guys get the win in the tournament. When things aren't going well against Purdue, and actually, going back and watching that game, in my memory, it was kind of a big deficit for a good chunk of the game. It was like a 2 or 3 point game at halftime or something. It was a relatively close game. Then in the second half, they stretch the lead out. They take it to whatever it was, 14 or 15 with 5 minutes to play. Um, are you yeah, I don't know if panic is the right word, but, what's how much do you remember about your mentality when the team's down 14, 15, 5 minutes to play?
Two things. The game has to slow down. We need to execute. And number two, we've been there before. We've talked about it during the season. We were in those situations in the past, right? Um, so don't panic. Um, but those are the two things in basketball. I feel like when you're down like that, the game has to slow down. What are we trying to do? What's the mismatch? What are we trying to what are we trying to get to? How are we gonna score? How are we gonna get stops? And then just don't panic. And you play 30 games for that. You got your non-conference games and your conference games to get ready for those moments, right? So in a season, you're gonna be down at one point, and it's how we bounce back from those. What do you learn from those games? Um, and then we worked on those scenarios in practice. You're down, whatever. Well, what are we executing? Who gets what shots in what situations? Where? What plays are we going to? It's a lot of things that go into that, and we never panicked against Purdue.
Obviously, the comeback happens. Josh hits some shots. Um, we get to the overtime period. I think that's where Liz hits his corner three, but then it's
Hmm.
at the end of that first overtime period, you have the defensive play. And honestly, like maybe one of the more significant, impactful individual defensive plays in program history. Like, I don't think many people, myself included, in the moment kind of realized what a big play that was. And it's you're isolated at the top of the key. It's Vince Edwards, I believe is the player's
Yeah,
name.
yeah,
I mean, I can't remember if it's coming out of a timeout, but it's,
it was,
it's
it was,
yeah, I mean, it's an action they wanna get to, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, you can tell that they draw up a play like, "We're gonna set this ball screen. We're gonna try to get him moving right. We're gonna try to get him going downhill." What I guess, 1, were you guys prepared for something like that? Was that at all a conversation in the huddle about what to expect? And then, second, just kinda take me through what you remember about that specific defensive play.
It's definitely something we're prepared for. We had a saying, you gotta guard your yard, you gotta take it personal. To guard your man one on one. That play, you don't know what they're gonna run out of the timeout. I do remember it was a sideline out of bounds. Um, they get it, they go into like a get action where the big gets it and Vince Edward comes back and I'm trying to deny, I'm making it hard for him to get it. And he gets it, and I'm looking up at the clock. I said, "There's no way they can lose with a guy scoring on me. Like, I have too much pride for that. Like, that's not happening. Like, y'all chose the wrong one to attack." Um, And at that point, it's just like it's me and you. Like, who wants it more? Um, yeah, it's basically like life or death. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna be responsible for our team, our coaching staff, our school to lose because they ISO'd me on an island. Like, that's not happening, man. And that was team defense, and it wasn't only me because even that stop, I remember G being behind me, be like, "Yo, I got you," and so I knew exactly where to send them. And then I think I blocked that shot too.
You did.
And then we get that stop, and then we go into overtime.
Yeah, it's something that I've kind of discussed with several different people for this series. I talked about it with Josh and Roger and Mo. They all said the same thing. They were like, Kimmy's the last person you would want to ISO, in that situation and kind of go at.
Yeah.
Josh and Roger went as far to say that like you were the only person that they felt like gave them trouble, playing ones, that you were that good of a player, that good of a defender. And then talking with the coaching staff, they said that they still, show that clip to players today, defensively, move your feet, show your hands. It was a textbook kind of defensive play in, one of the biggest moments, not just of the game and not just even of the season, but for a program like UALR, one of the biggest defensive plays in program history.
Yeah, man, and it's all about character. It's about grit. I want it more than you, and I'm gonna go after it. And we had a lot of guys with that mentality on the team. The coaches had that mentality, which is why I think we gelled and we clicked so much that year. It's just that last possession, I was like, hell no, not on me. I'm not like, yeah, honestly, if he had beat me, he would have got hurt or something, maybe, because there's no way he's gonna score me.
I mean, it was textbook. I mean, like you said,
Yeah.
move your feet, show your hands, stay in front. Not easy to do. You know what I mean? Him coming off a ball screen like that, coming to a strong hand, you got a piece of it. It was, I mean, you did exactly what, a defender in your position should do. And then in the second overtime period, you hit the shot that like puts the game away. That 3-pointer, Josh gets the super high ball screen, moves left,
Yes.
defense kind of sags to the middle. Like when Josh is moving left and you kind of feel the defense sag, are you ready? Like, do you know the ball's coming your way?
Yeah, I remember telling Josh, I said, because we ran that play a lot down the stretch. Josh won us that game. Like, he came back. He did all that stuff, and I was like, "Yo, Josh, they're helping off." I said, "Throw that one." And if you go back, it's not the greatest shot. It's like 20 seconds left, and I shoot that thing over a 6'7" guy. I'm 6'1.5" at best. Um, I just felt it. I was like, you know what? Like, they're keying in on Josh, Raj, Liz hit one. I say, yo, like, I got one in me. Like, and I was ready for those moments. While that ball was in the air, I'm moving. My feet were set. I know that. I said, that thing is going up, and I'm ready for anything that comes with it. But I knew that thing was going up as soon as it left Josh's hands.
You knew you were shooting it as soon as it came to you.
Yes, yes, yes. I didn't care how much closer the guy was going to be. Like, I knew that ball was going up that possession. I knew for a fact it was going up.
At Staley Electric, we don't mind getting our hands dirty. That's just who we are. What started in R.E. Staley's garage in 1951 has grown to a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week residential, commercial, and industrial electrical company. From changing out a ceiling fan in your home to building a school in your community, Staley Electric will deliver the electrical solutions you expect and deserve. Visit our website at StaleyElectric.com.
How many times, like, be honest, like, how many times you've gone back and rewatched that play through the years? I mean, and you've got the call, the Kemy Osse, what do you say from the broadcaster? Like, that is such
Yeah,
an
yeah,
iconic moment. Has anyone ever, like, does anyone else recognize you for that play, for that shot? Like, that Kemy Osse, what do you say, was such an iconic line from the tournament.
Yes, back home in Montreal for sure. Everybody was watching that game. My program that I came from, my brother's program, Park X. Everybody was watching that. Restaurants, sometimes they talk about it. A lot of people did. I didn't really go back and watch that shot though, to be honest. Like, I never really. The play was done. It was done. I do remember everything from that shot in that moment, that year, but I never really went back and really watched it like that. Unless some of the kids are talking trash with me, like, "Coach, what up?" I'm like, "Shit, go see it, go watch it." Yeah,
Well, do yourself a favor. Go back and watch it after we finish up today.
yeah,
You've earned it, man.
yeah.
That next year, you and I were talking, and I asked you something to the effect of, I don't know if I was like couching it like nerves. I was like, were you nervous on that shot? Whatever it was. But you told me you were like, not only was I not nervous, I was so ready to take that shot. You were like, it had been a minute since I'd even touched the ball. You were like, I'd already decided, like when the ball hit my hands, like it was going up. You know what I mean? Like it didn't matter what was going on. You were like, you said you had a like scores mentality at that point in the game.
Yes, it's just like I said, what I'm saying? I didn't even remember saying that to you. But I do remember I was definitely thinking that during the game. It was a while, and I was in the corner feeling for the game. I knew like my job at that point in that game. Somebody's hot. There's a bunch of other things you need to be doing on the court. Box out. I think I got fouled boxing out in that game. Earned me free throws. You got to defend. There's a bunch of other things you can do besides scoring. But at that point, I knew we needed another option because Josh and Raj were carrying us, and then Liz hit one, a big shot. G was G. Everybody was playing the role. I said, this one is it right here. Like in that specific moment, I was like, this one's going up.
Yeah, you guys got contributions across the board. Like you said, Josh had the big game. Roger, Liz, Reese had a nice game that
Yes,
night.
yes.
Yourself, Rutley gave him some good minutes. Even Daniel Green, kind of came in
Mm-hmm.
and gave some good minutes with some size. Like that was a true team effort. And then like after the game, the locker room, obviously like just elation. You've got like all the media members and stuff. Like how and you said that shot is a very vivid memory. Like how vivid are the memories in the locker room afterward?
Even more, man. It was just crazy just being in there with those guys. You grinded with them the whole year. You fight in practice. We hang out together all the time, though. That's one thing about that team. We were really close. We all hung out together. We went out together. We ate together. We were all cool with each other, which helped us on the court. And that locker room, man, is just relief. It's happiness. It's everything, man. You're like, damn, I'm really here right now. Like, we won a big game. Like, we upset Purdue, which was one of the top teams in the Big Ten that year. So it was big time. The feeling is crazy.
Yeah,
Probably
no
one of the
doubt.
best moments in my basketball career. Even like playing for the national team and all of that. Like that was big time.
Yeah, I mean, like that specific moment, but that team as a whole, as you said, one, you guys were really good. That obviously is the most important thing that helps. But also you guys were close. You had that kind of really intense work ethic as a group. Um, have you ever kind of recaptured that or experienced something quite like that with another team, or is that like a pretty singular experience with that Little Rock squad?
Nah, man, nah, man, that was a special moment. We did win Canada games here with Team Quebec, my province here, which would be like you guys' state. Just like big national stuff. We won a bunch of them here in Canada, but the March Madness is just different. It's just different, man. I don't think I've been to something like that besides that.
Yeah. The Iowa State game, we have spent a lot of time on it, but like, I mean, obviously that was a tough loss. They were really, really good that year. They had a number of NBA players. They had one of the top offensive efficiency ratings in the country that year. Um, how, what was, even losing to a really good team, how tough was that?
That was definitely tough. Like just losing in general sucks. But even that game, you learned a lot. And we made some mistakes, whatever. But just being there was just insane. Of course, if anything, we wanted to win the national championship at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like it's doable. We're right there. It's a few games away. I don't really have a memory of that locker room after. When you lose a game like that, you just zone out. You're just like, you start going back, okay, what could I have done better and stuff? And then your mind just shifts. What's next? How do I get better?
Yeah.
And this is exactly what I did.
Yeah, just ready to move on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about after UALR, you play professionally. Just kind of run through for everyone, like what your pro career is like or was like.
It was really good, honestly. I started in Canada, got a few opportunities in Europe. But because I'm from Canada, teams always matched my contracts over there. So I stayed home, which was good. Got to spend time with my family. I was gone from my family since I was 16, so it was good for me to stay home, have more chances to see them, spend time with them. Rookie, I made all rookie team my first year. Um, top three in scoring, I think, for the rookies. And then from then, was getting really good contracts. Stayed home, stayed in Canada. And then the last few years in 2022, my home team, my hometown, came up with their own team, the Montreal Alliance. That was one big moment of my career. I was the first ever player signed to that franchise.
Nice.
So yeah. So I made history, a whole press conference and stuff. So my parents were able to be there, my family. That really meant a lot to me. I'm talking about it, I'm getting chills because all the kids, like, kids from the city and stuff, they knew me. And just having even the guys in the league now, like Lou Dort attending that first game and stuff. I watched him grow up. For him to be there, my family there, that was the first time that my whole family could see me play. And you know what's crazy? I hit a game-winning shot in front of them that first game at home. I hit a game-winning shot. J. Cole was with that team. That's when J. Cole had signed in Canada. I don't know if
Oh
you
yeah,
had
J.
seen
Cole can
it.
play, right? He can hoop a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah. So that moment was another big one for me, but it was just more personal, right? Because I'm from Montreal. A professional team gets there and you're the first ever signed player there, and the first home game you hit a game-winning shot. I mean, that's like crazy. That's like something that was written in a book. So and then after that, I retired 2 years after that. I just said, hey, it's time to hang him up and get into coaching and stuff like that.
Yeah, the decision to hang it up, is that hard, or at that point are you like, I'm ready to do the coaching thing?
I was ready. After I signed with Montreal, my first that first year of the franchise, I was like, I have another year in me, maybe two, but I knew it was coming. I was just tired of the traveling and the grind of it. I was like, I gave it my time. I think it's over with. I'm done.
How do you like the coaching change, or like being a part of being a coach now? That transition, what's it been like for you?
Really well. You know what's crazy? Like when I was in college and stuff, I was like, I'm never gonna coach. Like I was
Really?
like, nah. What changed my mind is during COVID, our season professionally ended short. Early. I mean, because of obviously COVID. And there was this little prep school in Montreal, and they wanted me to come talk to the team and stuff. And I came and I spoke to the guys. Uh, Crazy story. Now talking about Beard. Beard used to make us take notes when we did film and stuff like that. So I remember I'm going to talk to kids, and I'm like, I'm gonna just tell them bring a pen and paper, take notes. Whatever I say can help them. A lot of them are trying to go Division 1 basket. They're trying to go to the Division 1 level and stuff. I said there might be one thing that I say that sticks with them, and I did that. And the president of the school of the prep was there, and he was like, "Yo, Kemy, you're gonna be a really good coach one day." I said, "Coach me? I'm not trying to coach." And that COVID year, basketball's slow. You know what I'm saying? I don't have anything. I just went and I started coaching them. I said, you know what? Let me just try. I was bored and I just loved it. Then that's how it started.
What part do you love the most? You kind of love the kind of X's and O's, the kind of strategy piece, or is it more like the kind of connecting and kind of growth and sort of uh, the the other aspect, the more like personal aspect with the players of being a coach?
Personal aspect, the thing that makes me the most happy, this is my first year, like actually sending guys like head coach of a program and leading the just knowing like kids that come from nothing, and even kids just getting scholarships to go play Division 1 basketball and seeing them achieve their dreams, them and their families, just seeing them sign that paperwork and knowing that you impacted that. That to me, that's crazy. It's just big time. Just seeing the relief in them and helping them get there. You see, you coaching them every day, right? And then you're helping them get there. That's the thing I love the most. Just help being. It's a crucial part of their lives. Like, you're 18, 19 years old, about to go to college. That's a big time pivotal point of your career, and you're able to affect that at the prep level, at the high school level. And to me, that's what I enjoy the most.
And we were talking before this. You mentioned you saw Beard this summer, and maybe Flan as well.
Yes.
Is there anything kind of specific? You mentioned the kind of like the kind of skill development stuff, but like anything otherwise specifically that you maybe take from those guys, into your kind of approach as a coach?
I take a lot of it. I mean, to me, if something's working, don't change it. We made history with that team, so a lot of things worked. Culture, you said that earlier. Mark Adams mentioned that. Beard, that was my first thing, setting up my culture, how I want it to be. And I want it to be personalized to me, to where I'm from, and how I carry myself daily. So that was my number one thing, and a lot of it aligned with what those guys did, right? Like accountability for everything you do, being sharp, work ethic, and those are the things that I instilled in this program, right? And this is why we're so successful right now. And I stole and used a lot of that stuff from our Little Rock team and from my family and parents and where I'm from.
We'll do some quick ones here at the end. We'll let you finish up, but um, going back to your days as a player at UALR, what was it could be favorite, it could be least favorite. I've gotten some feedback from different players on either side, but like the road venues in the Sun Belt, like what venues do you remember the most in a good and bad way?
I remember two of them. Yeah, back then when even Shields was there, I really liked Western Kentucky. I
That's
liked
what
playing
Josh
there.
was saying. Josh loved the Western Kentucky. That
Yeah,
atmosphere was good.
yeah, the atmosphere, the gym, like it was that gym where like you feel like this is just like I don't know, it was weird. It was like a scorer's rim, like it's just the atmosphere that was crazy.
And
But
y'all
my
always
favorite
played
thing,
well there too. That was a big part
yes,
of it too. You guys,
exactly.
we won maybe the last like 2 or 3 times up there. And
Yeah,
Western, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
they were a good program, but I think y'all won the last couple games up there.
Yeah, Western Kentucky, and I loved going to A-State, but I liked beating them there. That was a rivalry, right? So
Yeah.
those big games, I loved them. I just love going there. The rivalry, the Arkansas rivalry. It was always fun to go there.
It was fun to go up there, but man, they were so tough up there, man. A-State
Yes,
was,
yes,
I
yes.
think in the however many years I was like 5 years in the program, I think we only won 1 time up there the entire
Yeah, I
time
know, I
that
know.
yeah.
And I just love going there because it was a rivalry, and I know it was
Oh, yeah.
wartime. Yeah, that's right.
Well, you picked probably the 2 best atmosphere gyms, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whatever it was called, the Convocation Center for the Little Rock game was always big. And then Western Kentucky, like, they always had one of the best atmospheres in the Sun Belt whenever you would go there.
Exactly.
The gym was packed. It was just like a cool kind of like historic, kind of older facility. So yeah, I think those are 2 nice choices.
hmm
To the extent that you remember specific players, like who are like, is there a guy that you kind of think back on from your time in the Sun Belt, whether it's someone like an Alfred Payton, like an RJ Hunter at Georgia State, or a Harrow at Georgia State? Sean Long is a guy that's come up a lot, like in terms of like the best players that people played against. Like, does anyone stand out in your mind as far as the toughest guy you saw in your years in the league?
Nah, fuck, I don't. And it's crazy. I was thinking about like, Georgia Southern had a couple guys. The league was really good at the time. You mentioned Georgia State with Ryan Hunter and RJ Hunter. Good coaching. They were sitting in that zone and then they would just shoot the ball. I just remember teams specifically, even earlier in my career, FAU. You had guys like Stephen Moody and
Yeah,
Gant. Gant. Like,
yeah.
they had really good teams in that league. I don't really remember specific players like that. I do remember really tough teams to play against. ULM, like you said, that year when we won it, like, they were tough, man. They played ugly and tough, man. Like we just said, yeah.
They played a
Yeah,
lot like us, honestly. They kinda had a little
yeah,
motion offense too.
yeah.
They could really shoot the ball. They had size that could really shoot it. Like, Dang, he could step outside and spread the floor, and
Mhm.
they just were good, man.
Yeah.
They were not close to as deep as you guys were, but they were a shallow team. They only played like 6 or 7 guys, but those 6 or 7 dudes could really get after it.
Exactly, yeah. It was a few good guys. A lot of them good talent. Some of them played in the league, obviously overseas and stuff like that. So that
Yeah.
was cool.
What from that 2015-16 season, if you remove the Purdue win from the equation, like what's the win that maybe stands out most in your mind?
You know what win people don't talk about, and we actually won that game, and I don't even think I had a good game that game. DePaul was good. DePaul at DePaul was good because that was the first, like, like Power Five when, like, we go on the road at DePaul, team in that conference in the Big
You hit the
East,
first shot of the game. Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, not even. Yeah,
It
I don't
was
think I had a
the
I
only
don't
reason
think I had a really good.
we kind of ran a little play where I think it was Rutley kind of got baseline and then kind of defense kind of collapsed and he kicked it out to you. You were kind of between the corner and the wing and popped a three to open the game and just kind of like set the tone from the opening tip.
Okay, yeah, nah, and that was a pretty convincing win too. Like we actually went there and like, give them work. Um, yeah, no, we did. We had man, there's a game we're down and we came back. It happened multiple times. But the conference fight, the conference championship was a big time one too, honestly. Just knowing that we're gonna make it to the tournament there, and it was tough win. Who did we play before that?
You guys played Louisiana Lafayette in the semifinals.
Yes, that was okay.
And that was the game I always tell people, the Jalen Jackson game. Remember he came off the bench and just
Yes,
went
yes,
it
yes.
went crazy.
Yeah.
Like he had
Yes,
like
yes,
16 points in
yes, yes,
13
yes.
minutes or something,
Yeah, yeah.
just came off and he
Mhm,
just was kind of hitting everything. He was getting run out dunks, like he was popping
mhm.
threes, he was getting his mid-range going. Like Jalen was a guy that could really get it going off the bench and like that game was like the ultimate like Jalen Jackson showcase.
Microwave. Yeah, I think that dude can score the ball. He can score the ball.
For sure, for sure. Last question for you is what made that Little Rock team so special?
Hey, I mentioned it earlier. It's crazy just how together we were on and off the court. We hung out together all the time. We spent a lot of time together. That was definitely special because I've been on a lot of teams in my career. There's always cliques and groups. We didn't have that. Of course, you got guys like you're gonna hang out with more, but most of the time we were all together. We played hard, man. Like actually had like brother vibes. And I can't say that for too many teams that I played for in my career. And that's the one thing that was special. To this point, I talk to some of the guys still, and it's like a brotherhood. They're still one of my best friends. They're still some of my best friends. And I think that was special.
Kimmy, man, I very much appreciate you doing this. Like, very busy guy these days. You're coaching, you're traveling, you got a lot going on.
Mhm.
But it means a lot, man. This is a really important team, really special team. Like, honestly, like one of the more, kind of an undertold kind of Arkansas sports story. You guys, there are a lot of, you hear the Cinderella term a lot in college basketball. Like, there are a lot of Cinderella story teams that, were not as great as you guys were throughout the season. You guys weren't just
Mhm.
a Cinderella team that beat Purdue. You beat San Diego State on the road. You beat Tulsa on the road. You go to Texas Tech and really had a great chance to beat them there.
Mhm.
You win, I think, 17 games in the Sun Belt. You get 12 true road wins. You go undefeated at home. You have a number of games where you come back from double-digit deficits. Like, this was a team that was special from the get-go. And I think, being willing to kind of take part and tell your part of the story it means a lot.
Yeah, no, man. I appreciate you for doing that. It's big time, and sometimes you tend to forget some of that stuff. Just time. And just having that conversation, even the Tulsa game, which I remember, I'm starting to remember it now. That was big time, man. They had that big jumbotron in the middle too. I remember
Oh,
their
their arena was
screen.
sweet. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that
yeah,
arena.
yeah, yeah. They had a nice gym, nice court. Man, that was big time, and I appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah. All right, Kimmy. Well, I appreciate it, man. And next time you're in Little Rock, if you're coming back for the Hall of Fame game or whenever it is, man, be sure to hit me up.
Yeah, I'm gonna be back eventually for sure, man. I went to school there. I gotta make it back. But we'll definitely be in touch.
All right. Thanks, Kimmy.
I appreciate you, Pat.
All right.
Pat. Okay.